I definitely know the verses, know the surahs, but the sequence which has been revealed, it never crossed my mind before. What I mean, so we know that the very first verse revealed was, what was the first verse revealed?
Iqra.
Yes, here you go. Iqra. So it's Surah Al-Alaq. Yes? So this was number one. And you know what was number two? The second revelation. No? Something related to the pen. Yes? Surah Al-Qalam. The second revelation. Yes? The third revelation is Surah Al-Muzammil. This is the sequence. I'm just taking you through the sequence to show you how did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nurtured the very first community in Mecca. So the third surah was Al-Muzammil, surah number 73. The fourth revelation was Surah Al-Muddathir, surah number 74. And the fifth was, you all memorized it. You recite it every day 17 times. Surah Al-Fatiha. Here you go. That's it. I'll stop here. So the very first five revelations. Surah Al-Alaq, and then we have Surah Al-Qalam, not all of it of course, but part of it. We have Surah Al-Muzammil, Surah Al-Muddathir, Surah Al-Fatiha. And I thought, a sequence, of course, nothing coincidental. Forget about the Stephen Hawking's theory, that, you know, nothing like that. It's meant to be like this. So I was doing my best to go beyond the letters of the surahs. So what does Iqra means? What does it mean? So Iqra, it's a symbol of what? Knowledge. Knowledge. It's not any knowledge. It's compulsory knowledge. Why that? Because Iqra itself, it's Fa'al Amr, for those who are interested in Arabic. It's a command form. Fa'al Amr. Iqra. Yes? It's not saying you may read. No, it says read or recite. It's a command form. So it's a compulsory knowledge. And it shows us that the very first change we have to do in ourselves to go from ignorance to knowledge, jahiliyyah to ilm. And this is the very first thing. Allah Azza wa Jal is changing the jahiliyyah community from illiterate community to a literate community. See? So ourselves, we have to move from ignorance to knowledge. You might say, yes, but we have PhDs as well. I don't mean this. I mean the real knowledge. The knowledge which leads to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the true knowledge. This is the knowledge which Allah will ask us about it on the Day of Judgment. He won't ask you a quantum physics question. He won't. He won't ask you the relativity theory. He won't ask you about the black holes. Yes? He will ask you about your obligations, the compulsory knowledge. So Allah Azza wa Jal is teaching us that the very first thing you start with is knowledge. So our religion heavily based on knowledge from the very first second, Iqra. So I thought that's it. The basis of any community, human community, let alone Islamic community, it has to be based on knowledge, not ignorance. So Allah has made this compulsory. Okay, so this is the first transition in our community. in ourselves. We have to move from ignorance to knowledge. The second thing is in Surah Al-Qalam. In Surah Al-Qalam, the very beautiful, unique thing, you won't find this ayah elsewhere in the Quran. There are some verses in the Quran were repeated in different surahs, in different forms, and sometimes the same form, the same letters. But not this one. This one is a unique one. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ in Surah Al-Qalam. So Allah Azza wa Jal is describing the Prophet ﷺ by saying, indeed, you have the most noble character. So this is the second transition. So he's changing the character of the Meccan people, or humanity, let's say. So from knowledge, number one. Second, we need to work on the character. And this is exactly what the revelation is addressing. So knowledge and then character. And many times, to be honest with you, you might have the highest degrees in sciences and what have you. But if you do not have the character, you won't win people's hearts. You can't. The Prophet ﷺ beautifully in a hadith, he says, إِنَّكُمْ لَن تَسَعُوا النَّاسَ بِأَمْوَالِكُمْ. You can't accommodate all people with your wealth, even if you are a very wealthy person. Yes? Elon Musk or what have you. Yes? You can't accommodate people with your wealth. No matter how much you are wealthy. But you can accommodate them with two things. You can win their hearts in two things. فَلْيَسَعْهُمْ مِنْكُمْ بَسْطُ الْوَجْهِ. You can accommodate them with a cheerful face, وَحُسْنُ الْخُلُقِ, and a good character. To the core. To the core of it. Yesterday, my wife was doing shopping with my little daughter. And she was just picking some bananas, and you know, you need to choose the right one. You don't want to have a very green or very yellow. So she was picking some bananas, and an old English lady, he said, "Why are you doing this? Just leave it and go home. Go to your country. Don't come here." And my wife was surprised. It's the first time someone attacks her like that. And she said, "Sorry, why you are telling me this? But anyway, you are a grandma, and I have my daughter with me. You should be an example for her. You should teach love. You shouldn't teach hatred." And that was, you know, a strike for her. She didn't say anything. She ran away. And she said, "I feel sorry for my daughter that she's been introduced to such attack like this from her." And she started saying stuff and what have you. But then afterwards, she didn't say anything. And I said, "Alhamdulillah, you said the right thing." He said, "I don't know, I feel uncomfortable with that." I've said, "You said the right thing." Definitely we need to teach people love. We don't want to teach people hatred. So good character is what makes you different. And you don't fake it, of course. You don't pretend that you have a good character to impress others. No. Good character is part of your genes. It's part of your nature. It's not something you wear when you go out. No, it's something inside you. So the Prophet ﷺ, Allah described him in the Quran that he has the best character ﷺ. In another verse he said, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Indeed, in the Messenger of Allah, you have the best role model to follow. So we have to follow his character, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And I've delivered probably 2-3 courses on the character of the Prophet sallallahu. In fact, we've done a full retreat 4 days in Wales, 5 days in Wales, on Shama'il al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. the character of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the character is what makes us really humans, not just Muslims. Then the third revelation was Surah Al-Muzammil. In Surah Al-Muzammil, Surah number 73, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ya ayyuha al-Muzammil, qum al-layla illa qalila. O you who's wrapped in his garment, stand up during the night. Stand up. You see? So it's a command as well. Stand up during the night. It's the night prayer. The night prayer as well. This is compulsory. It used to be before the obligatory prayers being introduced to us. The night prayer was compulsory in Mecca. So the Prophet ﷺ used to pray with his companions during the night, and it was fard to pray. And why the night prayer? The night prayer is the special time away from people, away from the busy life, away from noises, away from anything, away from showing off. So you are during the night between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a blessed time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the hadith, or the Prophet said in the hadith, that the special mercy during the last third of the night will descend. And Allah Azza wa Jal will keep calling upon his servants and say, هَلْ مِن مُسْتَغْفِرٍ فَأَغْفِرَ لَهُ. If there's anyone asking for forgiveness, I'll forgive him. Anyone asking for this, I'll give it to him. Anyone, till the Fajr starts. So it's a very special time, and more likely, almost all of us, starting from me, we miss this time. Unless it's Ramadan, it's a different story. Yes? So this special time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is training us that any community who wants to really change themselves, they have to have night prayer. They have to. Read any biography of any great scholar, regardless of the name. They have a special daily prayer, if it's not every day, every other day, but more likely every day. And let's say, just practical steps. Let's say once a week we have Qiyam. Yes? And by the way, we have as well in Utruj, we have once a month Qiyam. Whole student will come, we'll have Qiyam together. So we can introduce this as well. We can start this, we can share this. It's not an exclusive property for us. It's just at least once a month we come together, we do Qiyam, Dua and stuff and what have you. It brings serenity and tranquility which we are missing in rat race every day. Rat every day. We are just racing, and the anxiety which we have. During the night prayer, you just diffuse all of this and you open up a new gate between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the third thing. And this is what I call, in my own term if you want, the vertical dimension. Why the vertical? Because it's qum, stand up. It's like that. So stand up, it's our relationship, it's one-to-one relationship between us and Allah Azza wa Jal. So it's the vertical dimension. And this dimension, there's no intermediaries. It's just between us and Allah Azza wa Jal. And we need to have this very strong. The fourth revelation was Al-Muddathir. And these two consecutive surahs, by the way. 73, 74, consecutive. Allah Azza wa Jal is commanding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Qum fa'andir." Stand up and warn people. Warn them against hellfire, against the punishment and so on. So this is the social change. So the third one is the spiritual change. Yes? As we are talking about transition, the first one is the knowledge transition, the second one is the character transition, the third one is the spiritual transition, the fourth one is the social transition. Why is that? Because قم فأنذر, this is what I call the horizontal dimension. Horizontal dimension, it's your relationship with the people. You go and deliver da'wah. You go and spread Islam. Not necessarily to put a stall and then you have a microphone and shout and scream in speaker's corner. Not necessarily. Yes? There are plenty of other ways better than that. I'm not criticizing, but I don't like this way. But I won't fight with those who are doing this. I'll leave them to what they are doing. So, spreading the message. Character is one of these tools to spread the message. And unfortunately, we have, in our understanding, in our background, in our teachings, I don't know why, probably you might have the same experience, that our aim is to convert people to Islam and they enjoy Islam with us and this is the best thing that happened to us and we want every single person on earth to be a Muslim. There's something not right with this. What is it? Our mission is not to convert people, because no one can convert people, even the prophets and the messengers. They can't convert people. Hang on. Yes, yes. You've heard me right. We cannot convert people. What is our mission then? To convey, not to convert. We can't convert people because people's hearts are in Allah's hand. The only one who can convert them is Allah, not me and you. Yes? In alayka illa al-balagh. Allah addressed the Prophet ﷺ. He said, the only thing that you have to do is to convey. That's it, done. You can't do more than that. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. You do not guide those whom you love. You cannot guide them. You cannot convert them. And this has been revealed on his uncle Al-Abbas. Sorry, not Al-Abbas. Abdul Muttalib. Abu Talib, sorry. Abu Talib. The father of Ali radiallahu anhu. So Abu Talib didn't accept Islam. Let's say outwardly. Inwardly he might have accepted it. We have no access to that. Allahu a'lam. So Allah Azza wa Jal said to the Prophet, you cannot guide him or guide anyone whom you love. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي وَيَشَاءُ. But Allah, He guides whom He wants. Not up to you. So what do we have to do then? The only thing we can do is just to convey. To convey in the prophetic manner. Why do we need this extra addition? Because you might convey it the way you like. Like ISIS. They think that they are conveying the message, don't they? Yes? If we were to have a good opinion about them, of course. Yes? Not going into conspiracy, what have you, and yeah? And it is just not the right thing. But nevertheless, this is, the transition here is not in your hand. But we have to deliver the message in the prophetic manner. That's it. This is number 4. Number 5 is, and what do we call this transition?
Number 4?
Yes?
Oh, this horizontal.
Horizontal dimension. But we call it the social transition. Social transition. Because we are communicating with others. We are not isolated from the community. Ghettoization. We are not. This is completely wrong. This is not the message. وَالَّذِي يُخَالِطُ النَّاسَ وَيَصْبِرُ عَلَى أَذَاهُمْ in the hadith. And the one who is mixing with people and tolerating them and acting with patience with them is better than the one who's not mixing with them and not tolerating them. And this is the hadith. Yeah? So it's completely wrong. And what I've heard for a long time, and unfortunately still the case till now with some groups, that we have to buy a land and go and make Islamic city and buy some stuff. It is in existence. Don't laugh. It is in existence. And this kind of invitation, it has some followers. Yes, I'm talking about thousands of followers, not 2 or 10 or 100, thousands of followers. They already bought the land. They started building. I'm not sure if they started even living there. And I still remember as well, in the beginning of 2001, the trend was that you have foreign speakers just flying into the UK, and it was the trend, as you still remember over here. Foreign speakers just flying and flooding the UK. And many of them, I've heard many of them, saying that you are not allowed to stay in this country, this is a country of non-Islam, kufr, what have you, you travel somewhere else. And this is completely wrong. And unfortunately, we have some people with this mentality till today. Of course, alhamdulillah, it's not the majority, alhamdulillah, but we still have some work to do. So it's the social transition and communicating with others. It's so important. The last thing which I want to talk about here, I'll go back later, inshallah, to the practical things. How can we apply this practically? The fifth revelation was Surah Al-Fatiha. I know we memorize Al-Fatiha, we know the details of Al-Fatiha, but we think that we know that. What is the symbolic thing about Al-Fatiha and this sequence? Yes, we talked about educational transition, we talked about character transition, we talked about spiritual transition, we talked about social transition, and now what is it?
Vertical.
Try.
That you can't do any of those things unless you keep yourself on the straight path, or you pray for remaining on the straight path.
Okay, that's good.
I
Sorry?
don't know how to get there.
Okay, good.
Not to repeat the mistakes of others before us.
Possible.
Knowing your boundaries whilst all those transitions take place.
As well possible. I'm searching for something else.
Is it acknowledgement?
There's no wrong answer here, but I'm searching for something else.
Is it acknowledgement of our reliance on Allah to help us succeed?
As well possible.
So could you repeat your question, please?
Sorry?
Could you repeat your question?
Which kind of transition here in this sequence? So Fatiha, symbolic transition of what? In this sequence. Because we went through the sequence, yes? These are the pillars of any human society. These are the pillars. Knowledge, character, spirituality, social, and we have one element. Of course, that goes without saying.
Is it the realization of the inner self?
As well, it's the spiritual. It took me a while to find it, guys.
Societal change?
We already covered this in the social. It's the psychology. How come? What is the name of the surah? Yeah, but
The opening.
yeah, what else? It has 14 names. What else? The very first one, of course, Fatiha. But it's well known as what? Surah Al-Hamd. The first ayah. Surah Al-Hamd. We call it Surah Al-Hamd. Surah Al-Hamd, praise. What is this? It's the positivity. it's optimism. It's just seeing the good things instead of just being a person of the empty cup, empty half of the cup. No. Allah Azza wa Jal is teaching us how to be optimistic, how to be positive. And what charged this in us is being grateful to the favors of Allah Azza wa Jal, which we have plenty of them, beyond our comprehension, believe it or not. External and internal. And I like very beautiful verse which been attributed to, it's a poem attributed to Ali radiallahu anhu, but I don't think that the authenticity is that much, but it is authentic that it's Ibn Arabi, Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi, the great Sufi Andalusi scholar and Maliki scholar as well. Apart from being a Sufi, he is a Maliki, very grounded Maliki scholar, Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi. He has plenty of poems, but one of these poems, he says, وَتَزْعُمُ أَنَّكَ جِرْمٌ صَغِيرٌ وَفِيكَ انطوى الْعَالَمُ الْأَكْبَرُ. And you pretend that you are a small speck, but indeed the whole world has been folded in you. Which is true. I was listening the other day on the Radio 4. I wish I know the program. Just I opened in the radio, in the car, the radio, and half of it, or last 10 minutes of the program. They were talking about memory and neurology and the nervous system and what have you in the brain. And one of the attendees, professor, I don't know what, it was a couple of weeks ago. You can go and trace it back on the Radio 4 website. He said one statement, it just shook me. He said, in our brain, we have 10 trillion neurons, something like that. He just mentioned a huge number, probably more than that. But I was shocked by the number one. Number two, he said, our brain is more complicated than the whole universe. And I was, what? This is a specialist. He's just making things up. Yes? He's a specialist. He said, our brain is more complicated than the whole universe. And it just came to my mind, this verse from the poem. وَفِيكَ انطوى الْعَالَمُ الْأَكْبَرُ. And the whole universe has been folded in you. So these complications as well, to be honest, the first thing came to my mind, the ayah, and then the poem. The ayah says, Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, وَفِي الْأَرْضِ آيَاتٌ لِلْمُوقِنِينَ. On earth there are signs for those who have understanding. وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ. And within yourselves there are signs which lead to Allah Azza wa Jalla. I said, wow, in yourselves, signs. But again, in another ayah, Allah says, فإنها لا تعمى الأبصار ولكن تعمى القلوب التي في الصدور. The blindness is not in the eyes. The blindness is in the heart. So some people might have eyes, but they cannot see. And some people might not have eyes, but they can see. So this is the vision of the truth. The truth doesn't need eyes to be seen. The truth can be seen by the heart easily. For those who are sincere, by the way. Sincerity can penetrate all the obstacles, inshallah. And I'll just stop here, I think. We are on time.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that talk. Do we have time for questions now?
Well, I'm going to say something. I'm really enjoying this, actually. And I thought if we could, I'm sure that Sheikh has a lot more to say. So we could go until Asr, and then we come back for questions, if that works. It's just a suggestion.
I have plenty. I can speak till 3 days.
I know. So if that's okay with everybody, I think we can listen. And we will come back after Asr for questions. Yeah?
Yeah.
I told you that he's very good.
It's not me who's very good, it's you who are good listeners. So we have to recap. You have to repeat with me now, yes? I've been doing this by my own. Number one is knowledge, a transitional. Number one is knowledge transition. Number two is the character transition. Number three is the spiritual transition. Number four is the social transition. Number five is psychological transition. And this, do not underestimate this. It makes your life hell if you are a person of grumpiness, if you are a person of pessimism. Unfortunately, I came across plenty of people like that, especially when we receive some cases, conflict between husband and wife, you know, Henrietta. And things are just going to the shaitan al-rajim and they cannot resolve it. They will call me up and I stopped receiving their calls anyway. So I will listen to the story. She will talk about the story of Eve till now. And you have to listen to the story, but it's too much to summarize your story, sister, or brother, but more likely sisters. Anyway, so one of these sisters, she was telling me her story with her husband and the conflict. I said, okay, let me write down the main issues. Because I can't just listen to that you were cooking and then this happened and then he didn't like your chapati or he didn't like your halim. This is not my concern. Yes? Just let me know if you have fried chicken. Anyway, so she told me a couple of incidents, 3-4 incidents. And when I was writing down, I realized there's a pattern. There's a pattern. And this pattern you cannot miss. But she couldn't see it. Said, sister, do you realize what you are saying? Said, what? Said, here you are so negative. And this incident, you described, I'm not saying this. You said da. Said, yes. In this incident, you are so negative. There are other things to see in that incident. Rather than just focusing on the black area, there are plenty of good things in that incident. And then in that incident, the same thing. And she said, huh? I haven't seen this, yes? I said, yeah, look at the pattern. So you are a very pessimistic person. You need to learn how to see good things. And Fatiha teaches us, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. You start with opening your heart. It's not just the opening of the Quran. It's opening your life, opening your heart, opening your soul to positivity. It's not just